Howdy, Hermie Serpent here. Just here to show you a little bit of a redesign that I am doing for some of Flash's rogues. I have decided, because I love Flash so much, and I have such a large and intense and unknowable beef with the CW show and how they did certain things, that I have decided to make sort of like a redesign, recharacterization, kind of update kind of thing. Because like Batman had the Batman the animated series, and then there's also Batman the 2004, I believe, series, and Superman had the Superman the animated series, and I just feel like that there should have been some sort of show just for the Flash and establishing Flash's characters and his rogue gallery and all of his relationships. So I decided to try to write something for that over on AO3. Now, I'm not saying what I'm writing is show worthy. I completely admit to the fact that I cannot write a show for the life of me, but I've decided to do a couple of redesigns for the characters and some ideas going behind them. Now, this video is for Pied Piper. I really do think Pied Piper is an interesting character. In the comics, he goes from being kind of a villain and then kind of like an anarchist, anti-capitalist. Then he becomes kind of like an anti-hero kind of hero situation going on. And I think he's really interesting. I also think it's really interesting whenever they incorporate the fact that he's like got hearing aids and like incorporating that into his like sonics and his implants and how they deal with that. I can't remember if that's originally from the CW show or not, but if it is from the CW show, I'm stealing it from there, and if it's not from there, then it should have been featured in more things. Now, the reason I'm starting with him first is because I think he's really fun, and I've used him in another AU that I created that was more based around Captain Marvel. But I really like Pied Piper because he has the ability to like control people using his music. So for this, I've decided to go away from more of his medieval look that he used to have in the comics and incorporate more of a punk kind of look, because punks tend to be more associated with anti-government, anarchy, anti-capitalism. And so I gave him more of a punk look. So you can see that in kind of like the jean jacket kind of mix with trench coat kind of thing going on. So that's supposed to look like jean. I try my best with the patterning, but green and such. But I also tried to incorporate some of his old style back into him so people could recognize that it's playing off of this character's design from the past. So I gave him his polka dots in his sleeves, and I made sure there was a lot of green going on. I also gave him a hood because in some of the comics, he did have a hood periodically, sometimes, and I do like that look, so I incorporated that. And then it also seems like he's gone between having like blonde hair and having red hair, and then I think in the CW he had like brown hair and it was like super boring, so I decided to just back over to having kind of orangey blonde, incorporating that in. And if you'll notice, he has like two pins. He has like a musical button pin thing, and then the other thing's not really a pin, it's more of a patch. I would have put more patches on there, but I didn't want his design to be too messy. I know that punk typically is more of a messy look, but if I was actually like quote unquote animating this show, making it into like a ongoing series, I would want to make it maybe a little bit easier. I know the patterning on his sleeves would make it a little difficult, but so I gave him a music note pin, and then I also gave him an anarchy patch just to tie back into that whole punk look and that whole anti-capitalist, anti-government kind of thing, because I think it's interesting. I would also, in this story, I'm making him a little bit younger than a lot of the rogues. Not the youngest of the rogues. I have decided to make Trickster the youngest and incorporate his backstory to be more tied in with Captain Boomerang. Might go into that later time, but I have decided that I like it when stories are interwoven. So he's going to end up mating Barry Allen before he becomes a supervillain in reaction to some of the stuff his parents do. So he's going to meet Barry Allen at a crime scene, which the crime scene was created by a Mirror Master, and Barry Allen is going to be one of the few people who figure out that he's not able to hear anybody. because his parents don't let him wear his hearing devices around others because they find his disability to be an embarrassment. And so I'm building off a lot of his character and all why he is interested in more of this alt scene and why he's a little more into anarchy and stuff, a little because of the way his parents are so pro the status quo and they reject him both for the way he was born and because he's not matching up with what they want out of a son. I also gave him a little mole on his cheek because I really liked that in the Spectacular Spider-Man for Mysterio, and that's just kind of a callback to that for me. If you notice, sometimes on the screen it will pop in and out. There's a brown-haired character. That is like one of my original designs for Pied Piper for the Chili Bats in AU. If you know me, and you know that I've worked on that before. And I just referenced that a little bit. But I went back to having that orange and blonde combo. Anyway, I think that wraps up what I'm mostly talking about. Character wise, his story arc would be being fiercely independent, then joining up with the rogues and finding acceptance with them as sort of a family situation, and figuring out what he actually wants from his life. Like, does he want to stay a criminal forever? Or does he think that he can actually be something else? Like, is that an option for him? Anywho, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this design captures some of the things that I mentioned in my audio. Anyway, walete and toodaloo.